Why karate is effective in a street fight. It's very simple. When we talk about street fighting and self-defense, no martial art comes close to karate. Some people might actually have their doubts, of which I don't blame them, because they most likely have only witnessed people who weren't trained right to make use of karate. However, I assure you that it's the best self-defense if this particular martial art is taught and trained correctly. But that doesn't sound so valid if I don't provide reasons for this claim or fact, so in today's video, I'll be giving you reasons why karate is generally considered the best self-defense in street fighting. So stick around to the end of the video so you don't miss anything. I think we can all agree that karate is one of the most popular and most practiced martial arts globally. However, many people have come up with different reasons to criticize classical karate, some of which are outdated, unrealistic, and ineffective compared to modern-day self-defense methods. But really, how true is that? Because I beg to differ. With a history that dates back to the 70s and 80s, many people have seemed to have their own opinion of its effectiveness, especially as most of them have based their argument on comparing it to MMA. But if we're being honest, when karate was created, it was entirely created for self-defense and not tournaments. History. This martial art is about 200 years old, with origins that date back not hundreds but thousands of years. This art was created on the island of Okinawa, which used to be called the Ryukyu Kingdom, with its early form entirely influenced by the ancient Chinese martial arts. It was a method used to develop both the body and the spirit, and gain skills and tools that you could use to defend yourself even without using any weapons. But unfortunately, what we see today is what has evolved into some sport that only presents the fastest and easiest technique as the winner. And so, thanks to this, some of these practitioners start developing dangerous habits and reflexes to use in self-defense scenarios, like a false sense of distance or bouncing and turning your back to your opponent, which of course is very bad, and the list goes on and on. Many people see how ineffective and dangerous this is and place it under what karate is and completely rule it out as ineffective. Effectiveness. So why don't we look at what effectiveness really means? Because we can't say how effective karate is without first looking at that. If we look at this from a karate perspective, effectiveness is actually surviving aggression, whether lethal or not, executed in real life and not in a ring. Unlike the idea of karate that so many people have adopted, karate isn't about teaching people how to fight. Instead, it teaches to defend yourself. So you see the difference? As a karate practitioner, you're more concerned about not getting hurt and actually surviving the threat than you are about winning. According to the Okinawan karate master Anko Itasu, the goal of traditional karate was explained as thus. Karate is not intended to be used against a trained opponent, but as a way to protect yourself using your hands and feel if assaulted by a villain or ruffian. Now that was quite self-explanatory, so looking if you weigh the effectiveness of karate based on having to use it against another trained person, then you're doing it completely wrong. These are what combat sports were made for, and clearly karate isn't one of those. Regardless of the fact that karate's not a combat sport, it still requires a lot of training. But training is just where it ends. After training for so long, are you able to defend yourself or your loved ones when the need arises? The only determinants for this are how you train and who you train with. So if you wish to be effective in an actual self-defense scenario, the techniques you learn should be practiced in a different range of situations. The how, and should be tested against a perfectly resisting and utterly uncooperative training partner. The who. Style, techniques. Now another thing to keep in mind is that karate is not just one entity. Rather, it's made up of different styles, all of which can be very effective in a street fight, but one is considered the best. It's already common knowledge that the different karate styles can be taught, so it fits into the usual self-defense methods, but while this style also follows the same rule, it can also be thought to not fit for self-defense methods. Once again, like I've been emphasizing, it's based on how you teach it, and unlike most popular karate styles that require to be modified, the Uchi-Ryu requires close to no modification because it's very close to its original form. The first thing you can look at when considering making use of the Uchi-Ryu is the stance, as it makes use of an open-handed fighting stance that signals to your opponent, letting them know you don't want any trouble. This stance was completely made for self-defense because apart from just serving as a signaling method, it also allows you to grab and make use of your fingers for dirty strikes and techniques that you'll never see in sports karate, which of course makes it perfect for self-defense. This stance also acts as a fence between yourself and your attacker and could also be used to calm your attacker down. Another thing many people will say is that the technique in the Uchi-Ryu aren't quite fancy or appealing, but who needs a technique that requires you to stretch for flexibility in a street fight? You'll most likely have gotten a few hits before you're able to get yourself all stretched out, and that's why you'll never see this sort of karate in the Olympics, because it doesn't exactly score well in these tournaments. And even if you ever see such in a tournament, the practitioners will make sure to adapt it and take out the very dangerous styles, because remember, the Uchi-Ryu was created for self-defense and survival, so there will definitely be those dangerous or even deadly styles in it. As I already mentioned earlier, karate was created to develop the body, so this style mostly focuses on physical conditioning. Why, you may ask? It's quite simple. When you get in one of those fights and you start to get beat up, you'll feel a lot of pain. And if you aren't so used to pain, you'll most likely end up paralyzed if you aren't careful. And that's why self-conditioning is very important, because the truth is you can't always avoid all of the hits that might be thrown at you. But being able to endure them does a lot for you in defending both yourself and your loved ones when a situation arises. A little tip I'd love to leave with you is that when making use of the style, try not to have your hands in your hip area, unlike what some modern karate styles teach their students. Rather, your passive hand should always be held right in front, because if you choose to hold it at the hip, you're only exposing yourself to attack. Well, that's all we have for today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to let us know by hitting the like button. Also, make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel and ring the bell notification so you don't miss an upload. Thank you very much for watching.